throw this up on the wall. Warriors head coach Steve Kerr announcing that 4 of his stars would sit out the Spurs game the next day. He said, "This is the worst stretch of schedule that I've ever been a part of, and I've been in the league since 1988. A long time." All right, let's bring in our guys. ESPN Radio's Ryan Russillo and our Warriors reporter Chris Haynes. So Kerr, it basically was a JV game. The Spurs were down a bunch of guys as well. Big dud. You look at this game on the calendar, you really want to see Warriors Spurs, and we got what we got. You had a problem with it as far as maybe Kerr being a little petty. How so?
Look, to preface this whole thing, I get that this is this brutal schedule, and he wanted to rest guys. But he could have rested guys the night before in the Minnesota game.
Yeah.
Okay? I sat there and watched that Minnesota game. It was, they missed on a last-second shot. You have to do a better job when it's not just ESPN and everybody else, and people are going to think I'm just saying this because I work here, but when we triple your revenue on TV in the new TV deal, you owe your partners to make sure that your primetime games are better taken care of. And this has happened before with Popovich. He's done it, and of course it just happened to be a Miami game. And you've noticed, and here's the other thing, unfortunately, I can't share which game some other players are going to sit out, but sometimes these primetime games,
what do you say?
I know of a team that was going to, in a highly touted game, sit their guys just to mess with everybody, okay? And now they ended up not doing it, and I can't say who it was, but this has been going on for years where it seems like, hey, everybody's really excited, everybody wants to see how we match up and all that stuff. Hey, let's just sit everybody down. I get Kerr's point. He's not wrong about the scheduling, but you have to do a better job to make it up. Like when it is the Saturday night primetime game, you have to know that you have to rest in preparation and make sure that's its best product.
Not only that, the more important game, if you're the Warriors, is the Spurs game. No, this is the team you're battling for the 1 seed. What was the philosophy there? What was the thinking from Steve Kerr?
Well, I'm going to have to leave him at his word. He said it was just strictly for rest purposes. But there are rival execs out there who felt like this was the Warriors' way of sticking it to the league for putting them in this condensed schedule over the last week and a half. You're going to make us travel to 8 different cities, 8 different games. This is what's going to happen on a primetime game situation.
And then that's the thing, is just to jump in, that's the stuff you hear, and unfortunately, it feels like Chris and I can't tell you everything that we hear, but think about it. You love that the salary cap's doubled. You love that every valuation. I mean, the Russian dude's going to make $1 billion selling the Nets when my mom would have done a better job running that team. Okay, no offense to my mom, but she doesn't even know I work in sports. So what I'm telling you is yeah, you want to stick it to the league because of a schedule? Well, you're sticking it to your television partners that have improved and completely revamped the value of your product.
But I will say this, on behalf of the Golden State Warriors and the Spurs for that matter, they did at least give the fans and the public knowledge a day notice that they were going to sit these guys. Earlier in the year, the Cleveland Cavaliers announced they were sitting LeBron James, some guys in Memphis the day of. Fans were ticked off. Still to that fact, San Antonio Spurs, that arena, it was sold out that night, knowing in the fact that there weren't going to be starters out there on the floor, because that product on the court was atrocious to watch.
There's no refunds coming to those guys who paid tickets and people who were really looking forward to it on TV. 8 games, 8 different cities, 13 days, brutal stretch. Steve Kerr decided to play his guys Friday night and rest them for the big game on Saturday. Meanwhile, the Warriors are really struggling right now. What are you seeing out of this team, Chris, and how much of a concern is it moving forward?
I am concerned. If I'm a Warriors fan, I am a little bit concerned because we thought that KD goes out, well, they're just going to pick up right off where they left off last year. They didn't have KD before. But the thing is, they traded depth for, acquiring KD. They don't have Harrison Barnes out there, Andrew Bogut, Festus Ezeli. So they have to rely sorely more so on Steph and on Clay to bring it on offensively. The problem is they are getting pressured so high up on that three-point line where teams are trying to force them to penetrate. Now, Steph and Clay aren't taking that penetration action, instead of forcing those threes. And I believe he's 16 of 76 from his last three-pointers. That's not Stephen Curry-like numbers. And I think it shows that this team is night and day without KD. They really need this guy to come back, and not just come back and play up to form for this team to play at that high level.
I really got this one wrong. I thought they'd have an emotional bump, kind of get back to who they had been, and Clay had been really the same player statistically, and Steph had been a lot better in January, becoming more aggressive, and this has been a total miss by me. But you get Paul Zipser hitting a shot in Chicago. You have the miss against Minnesota. The Wizards game when they lost Durant, they came back from a huge deficit. But I think the scary one was the lifelessness that they showed at the end of that Celtics game, where the Celtics looked like they were the team that expected to win, as opposed to 4 minutes out when Golden State starts to take over. But I have a little less concern because I can't imagine that Curry is going to continue to miss this many uncontested threes. Like, it's not just about a lack of spacing. Some of these looks are still really good. And you're just like, this is a really weird time for him to have such a bad shooting stretch.
I think a lot of us mentally had sort of fast-forwarded to a finals where it's going to be Cleveland and Golden State again.
Yeah, we rethink that.
Even San Antonio right now is vulnerable with the problems they're having. Who knows when LaMarcus Aldridge is back. Do you get the sense the elite teams are kind of coming back to the field and there are more teams under the 10 right now?
In the West, absolutely. Like, I still thought the Warriors could come out of the West without Durant, and now I'm looking at that again going, is that off? Because San Antonio, as good as they are, they're still not defensively what they were last year. They were historic last year, and yet they're out in the second round. Houston is real, man. I mean, you may not like their talent as much as Golden State and San Antonio, which I get, but they are a real threat. People are scared of them. The Cavs' defense is so bad right now. It continues to get worse. This month, they're the second worst defensive team in the NBA. I mean, and it's atrocious. We saw it a little bit last night. So I don't know who's necessarily catching them in the East, but it does feel like it's three very real teams. And, look, the Clippers, we're going to say they're the fourth team in that. But, until we see otherwise, I'm not sure I can put them in that group.
Yeah, the Warriors, like I said, they need KD to come back, and not just come back to form. Because I think even if the Spurs, even with their health issues they're having with LaMarcus Aldridge, they still have a system in place. Guys still know where they're going to be at. They know the set, so nothing's going to change in that regard. Golden State is still trying to find an identity, believe it or not, without KD. And so you have to wonder, even if they did find an identity, you have to work KD back into the fold once he returns, and then there's a process to figuring him out, getting him back into the mix of things, and see if they can, start that maturation process. They got a lot of hurdles to go through before they're back at where they were about 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Meanwhile, back to Cleveland, intriguing pickup. Larry Sanders, a guy who really is a good player a few years ago, struggled with anxiety and depression. What are you hearing about what kind of shape he's in, what kind of basketball shape he's in right now?
Yeah, I reported that this morning. They're on the verge of signing him. I was told he's probably a couple of weeks away from being in basketball shape. And for the Cavaliers, there's no rush. That's fine with them. They just want to get him in practice, get him in the system, and try to put him into the fold. I have a problem with trying to come to the realization that he's going to be a factor this season, let alone the postseason. The team is trying to work something out for the second-year option to try to see if they get him, in the fold for next year to see what they have. But I don't think this solves anything the problems that the Cavaliers have right now.
You want to chime in real quick or no?
You nailed it.
He nailed it.
Thank you,
the
I
perfect
appreciate that,
answer out of Haynes.
Did I leave you hanging there?
You did let me hang it. National TV. Thank you.